Hey guys, it's Larry Greenberg, and today we're going to take a look at the Draco Design Draco aluminum bumper for the iPhone 6 Plus. This bumper comes in 6 color variations. I have the silver, obviously, and they all sell for $99.95. So let me get everything out of the packaging so I can show you what comes included. There's a small pamphlet here which has some instructions on how to install the bumper on your 6 Plus. You'll have the tool that you'll need for installation. Then you'll have a little goodie bag, if you will, of stuff, some of which you'll need for the installation, some of which is kind of backup material. So let me just dump it all out and I can show you what I mean. There are inside here 2 extra screws in case you lose any of the screws that come with it. And there are 2 that are required for installation. There are some extra pads in here for the interior of this, and then there is the button which you're meant to place over the mute switch of your phone, and I'll show you that in a second. The other stuff is all extra. We don't really need any of that. This is all we need for installation. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to move that out of the way, the button. There are 2 screws, and they're buried kind of inside here at the bottom. So I kind of like explain this case to people like a slider style case, except one that uses screws to hold itself together as opposed to friction. It's one of the easier cases of this type to install because it only uses the 2 screws. So basically, you've got this little button here that you need to put over the sleep awake, and to do that, not the sleep awake, but the mute, you put it in with the rounded side up, and I'm not even sure if you'll be able to see that, and you want your phone in the mute position. So there my phone's on mute, and you basically take this and drop it in the little hole there with the mute side or the rounded side up again, and you make sure it's in the mute position. It's not as easy as it probably looks. I'm sure it doesn't look that easy, especially on camera, because you have to be very careful that this thing doesn't move all around. And then you can take your phone and slide it in. Now there are like protective pads at the top of this to prevent any sort of damage to your phone. And there you go, you can see the buttons being held in place right now. I'd like just to make sure that it works before I proceed, and it definitely does. Now holding this together, you can then take the bottom section and place it on, and then grab your screws. Now I usually just hold it up like this, and then drop the screw in, stick the tool in, and then kind of feel for it to catch and tighten. And obviously you're only going to tighten these until you just feel a small amount of resistance from the screw, and that'll let you know that you have it all together. You don't want to obviously strip these and get this case stuck on your phone forever. So just tighten until you feel that small amount of resistance and then stop. And as I mentioned, this goes together pretty easily. Definitely easier than some of the other bumper cases of this type that have more than 2 screws. And there you can see the finished installation. So on the side here, you've got this really sleek button for your sleep awake. It's metallic, and it does give good tactile feedback when you press on it. Fires right away and feels just as good as the button built into the case itself. There on the other side, you can see the same metallic buttons for the volume up and down. These also give a really nice amount of feedback when you press on them. And then there's the button for the mute switch, which we installed, and it works just fine. You can see right there, it's going into mute. No issues with it at all. There is actually a decent amount, or small amount, I guess we'll call it. We'll call it semi lay on the table. This lip comes up just a bit higher than the screen of the phone. I do have a tempered glass screen protector on my phone right now, and that does add a little bit of height to the screen, but you still get some lay on the table protection as well as on the back. The lip just comes up just barely higher. The camera lens, however, I think is a little bit higher than the case itself, so just keep that in mind. There are cutouts on the bottom, of course, for the headset jack and mic, the lightning port, and the speaker. No issues with those at all. This case has a really nice ergonomic feel to it because of the curved nature of the aluminum. It feels very good in the hand. I will say this, it does make the phone pretty wide at the bottom. You can see because of that kind of teardrop shape, and that does make it a little bit difficult to use the phone one-handed. The 6 Plus is obviously a phone that's already pretty big, and putting this on here does make it a little bit bigger. Normally I am able to use my phone almost all the way one-handed, but with this on I do find I really have to stretch over to get to the other side, where with some of the other slimmer cases I can reach. For example, my iTV shows icon, I can't barely, or maybe, no, I really can't reach it with this case, just barely, you know, on my phone. So I really You know, if I really push it, I can do it. But so just keep that in mind. If you're someone that wants to be able to use your 6 Plus with one hand, I don't know that you'll be able to do that with this. You're going to find yourself using two hands more often than if you didn't have this on. However, what you get with the Draco bumper, I think, is a really unique, really modern and sophisticated design that fits the phone great, looks good, and I'm sure, I'm not going to drop test this, but I'm sure it will definitely give you some serious protection. It's heavy duty, sturdy. As always, with any kind of metal bumper, you're probably going to see some sort of signal degradation on your phone. You can see I just bopped from 1 bar up to 3 in the course of this review. I was noticing some fluctuation. I just went back down to 2. So now back down to 1. So as I always say with this type of case, you know, make sure you're someone that has very good reception from the get-go. If you live at the outskirts of whoever your provider's coverage area is, and you're constantly on 1 bar with no case, you may find yourself struggling to get service at all with this type of case on your phone. The metal cases are great, but they definitely do seem to affect the phone's functionality as far as service goes to some extent, and this case is no different. So the Draco Design Draco Bumper can be yours in one of 5 colors for $99.95, and you can learn more about it via the link I'll have in the video description. Also have a link down there to my full review of it over on runaroundtech.com. As always, if you have any questions about this case or anything else, be sure to drop me a line down below. Otherwise, have a great day.